this man's journey was very unique, to say the least. You can see on the screen there, he's a Fremantle fan, but what is a little bit unique, I know he's given the colours a very good plug. It's very unique that he actually was born in New York. He's a Mets fan, which we've actually just had a discussion about that off air. Lives in San Francisco, teaches in year 11. He's a writer. As we said, amazingly, he's a Fremantle fan. He's written a book on the AFL called Jumping at the Chance, and I've got to take exception to something in there written about me, by the way. There it is, gratuitous plug. And I think out of everything, Gil, the biggest compliment I can give you is that Martin Flanagan has given you the compliment. And in any Aussie, as any Aussie knows, you've got the gold standard that he said that you're a good bloke. So you don't come any recommendation that you've got the gold standard from Martin Flanagan. How are you going, mate?
Going okay, holding up as well as I can in these really troubled times. I have had a lot of sleepless nights over the past 10 days, a lot of tension, headaches, just trying to hold it together as this country is really having a moment of reckoning.
Yeah, it is, mate. Look, we'll definitely have a chat about that, but it's what led me. I think I sort of found you on Twitter. I think you come across on my Twitter feed. But all of a sudden, I'd seen an American that was so passionate about Australian rules football, but of all, Fremantle. Like, how did you end up initially following Australian rules football?
Well, that happened in the 80s when I was a teenager, when ESPN was just starting and they needed programming to fill up their 24 hours. And we'd get all kinds of sports from all over the globe. And so one very late night, I was staying up in New York at my dad's apartment, and I thought I was hallucinating at what I saw, because there was a big green ground and with stands, but the athletes I saw were wearing uniforms that looked like basketball uniforms. They were chasing around a football that didn't look like an American one. I saw the goalpost there that had no crossbar. And the strangest thing I might have seen were these guys wearing lab coats and white hats that were running around pointing, and I didn't know what that was all about. And then toilet paper streamed from the stands anytime the ball went through the goalpost. But I was fascinated, and I never, ever lost the visuals on that and just kept it up.
Geez, we wouldn't have minded some of that toilet paper recently, would we?
Yeah, right.
and look, I think ever since then, yeah. So it was on ESPN, and then was it actually your girlfriend of all teams? She ended up barracked for Collingwood, didn't she? And it was through watching the 1990 grand final that's what got you into the footy.
Yeah, actually, it was a female friend of mine that I met in a yoga class, and she and her boyfriend came over one night because she had heard I told her I was going down to Australia and that I was going to go see an AFL match. And so she brings over this videotape, shows how old this was, a videotape of the 1990 grand final, which turned out to be the first footy match that I watched from beginning to end. So I remember that big fight at halftime, and I remember she told me about the Collie-Wobble's name and all of that. So she's really getting me into the tradition. And so by the time I went, I was really wrapped. And one thing I'm really proud of to this day is the first match I ever saw was at the SCG, where Sydney played Port Adelaide, and it also happened to be Adam Goodes' debut. So I can now say that Goodsy and I made our AFL debuts in the same round.
On the same day. Well, yes. Between you, you've won a few Brownlow medals between the two of you.
Yeah, I'd say so. We banked some Brownlow votes.
And then, and then footy also, or I suppose Australian rules football also did you another favour, because that's how you did eventually meet your now wife. Is that correct?
It was, well, it's not how I met her, but it was definitely, I guess these days we'd call it a recruiting tool. So one of the things that happened was when we started dating, she's a big sports fan. And some of our first dates were watching footy matches on the channel that was then called Fox Sports World. But she had a little different path to her club because she fell immediately in love with the Sydney Swans. And so she bleeds red and white. She's a Swans girl through and through.
Yeah, and then that obviously led to a bit of angst. That was before one of the final series. You were telling me that was it Fremantle were obviously playing Sydney, and then you then went and watched it in separate houses, didn't you?
That's right. This is 2013, and I have another mate whose birthday is mine. And by the way, our birthdays, Corey, are only a week apart because I'm December 12th, you're December 19th. So we're both Sagittarians. So
You are very correct.
yeah, that's right. So anyway, another mate of mine who was from Myling in the wheat belt in West Australia, he and I we had met each other and we agreed that we were going to watch over at his place. And this time, my wife and I were living in LA, and it's about a 40-minute drive to his house. So I headed down there because I just thought there is no way that we're going to be able to watch in the same house, because earlier that season, Fremantle played Sydney at the SCG, and it ended up being the first draw in Freo's history. So I was thinking, there is no way, I'm not even going to tolerate somebody barracking against my club in our biggest moment. So we drove to his place, and the match started at 2:40 in the morning. And we're doing all we can to keep our voices down, not to scream and yell, because his family is sleeping in the other room, right?
Yeah.
And I also had booked a ticket to go to Australia, to go to Melbourne and see the grand final. I booked that about a month out. So if we were going to go regardless, but for me, it just had to be that we were going to get this done. And so the funniest thing was in the dying moments, when it was apparent what was going to happen, my wife sends me this text. And if anyone else had read it and didn't know the context, they would really find it the strangest thing. But she texts, "Congratulations." Or no, she texts, "My heart is broken in a million pieces. Congratulations."